when Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president visited China, I impressed upon you the importance of this visit and how strategic it was, no pun intended, for the two countries to sign this strategic partnership. For Syria, on the one hand, because Syria needs reconstruction, it needs a strong economic partner to help it rebuild and recover from this war that is, even today claiming lives, like we just saw at the military academy in Homs. The Chinese also need access to the Mediterranean Sea, as do all the countries in Central Asia, and even Iraq and Iran once the new Silk Road emerges. But I want to show you also some, because he sat down, Assad, and gave an interview with CGTN, and I want to show you a couple of clips and the kind of reception that he got. So you guys remember that when they came out, they got the red carpet treatment and everything, yeah? There was a parade after this and everything, and the next day he met Xi Jinping. So that's his wife, who she's British. And they're there with their children also, right? And just sorry to pause it, but the person who posted this, who's a journalist, he said that Assad's son can speak Mandarin Chinese. I mean, I'm jealous. I'm jealous, man. I speak 4 languages: English, French, German, and Arabic. I should have swapped German for Chinese, no question. I knew Chinese is going to be one of the most important languages in the future, just by virtue of it being a UN language already, along with Spanish as well, and Russian and English and Arabic, but and French. But I didn't expect it to take on so quickly, and for China to overtake the US so quickly, and BRICS to emerge so quickly. It's it's the only downside to all of this. I didn't learn Mandarin.
哪儿？欢迎。全家就是。全家。呀，我刚了解。How are you? Hello.
I was
beautiful. You're very beautiful. You have a beautiful country. Hello. 欢迎。
Yeah, so his wife is British, originally Syrian, and because she committed the crime of marrying the Syrian president, they wanted to withdraw her citizenship, or they were discussing some crap like that. Again, I told you this nationality and borders bill is going to be used for shit like this. I think her father was also a famous doctor in Downing Street. Yeah, he was a surgeon. And Bashar al-Assad is actually an eye doctor, right? So it's a family of doctors. In any case, I was discussing this with Danny Haifong just the other day about how much fangirling there is in China over Esma al-Assad, his wife, and Assad himself, actually. It kind of shows you the difference in the culture, just because they're not brainwashed and propagandized in China the same way that we are in the West by our media, right? So like here, you're supposed to actually hate China, even though if you've never been there and you can't speak the language and you don't know anyone from there. And same thing with Syria and Cuba. You're supposed to just hate like literally billions of people because CNN told you that's how it is. They deserve to suffer. This is sick. You can see the difference, honestly. It's pretty cool.
Have a beautiful country.
So let me play you a clip. This is from CGTN, and let's see what he had to say.
الشمالية الشرقية من سوريا التي يحتلها الإرهابيون هي نفسها التي يشرف عليها الأمريكي. فإذا القضية ليست فقط سرقة، وإنما القضية هي شراكة مع الإرهابيين في تقاسم الأرباح، وهي مشكلة ثانية أن تكون دولة عظمى تشارك الإرهابيين. هذا هو حقيقة الواقع في سوريا. لذلك نحن نخسر في تلك المناطق النفط والقمح. نحن كنا دولة نصدر القمح، الآن لا يوجد لدينا إلا القليل من القمح. لا يوجد لدينا كهرباء. كيف يمكن أن يكون هناك حياة من دون كهرباء؟ طبعا لدينا أقل بكثير من الحد الأدنى للحياة، ولكن هذا لا يكفي.
Bashar al-Assad has obviously been watching my channel because he said all the points that I make. No, but seriously, like, it's sad, you know, especially about the wheat. You know, a few years ago in 2019, 2020, they were even setting the wheat on fire. You had, like, you know, just like fields and fields being set on fire. And once again, always ask yourself, who benefits from this, right? The thing is that when it was already known back then that it was the United States that was actually burning these fields. And people were saying, no, this is propaganda from Iran and propaganda from Bashar al-Assad. And lo and behold, the Americans showed their hand and then moved in and took 1/3 of Syria, where all the wheat is grown and all the oil fields are located. So, you know, whether you're burning it or you're preventing people from eating it, the result is exactly the same. Literally the same. Whether you steal the oil or you just sit on top of the oil fields and prevent the government from extracting it and giving it the revenue and the wealth of the country to the people, is the same thing. Actually, obviously, the stealing it and selling it off is worse, but you understand my point. It's that at the end of the day, the idea, the United States is not, you know, trying to make, you know, 50 trillion from the oil in Syria. It's not about the quantity. It's about how much it matters to the Syrians, and it matters a lot because it makes up 1/4 of government revenue. 1/4. That's how much. Even though Syria is not a major oil exporter, it means so much for the country and for the people. The United States is like, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to take the food and we're going to make sure no one works with you and we're going to isolate you and all these things. And, you know, when he says here that the United States, it's not just a problem of theft. He says that, you know, the global superpower is colluding with terrorists. And I was kind of just laughing to myself. I was like, yeah, this is not the first time. Look at Afghanistan and look at the collusion with Nazis in Ukraine, like to the point that, you know, like we were saying earlier, they're hailing, no pun intended, they're hailing a piece of shit Nazi in the Canadian Parliament. And the only reason the speaker resigned is after people, you know, the media said nothing. Associated Press, Reuters said nothing. It's people on Twitter. It's citizen journalists, independent journalists who called this out, who said, hold on, he did what in World War II? He fought against who? Oh, you mean a Nazi? And only then the media, like a day later, had to report on it. And only then that speaker had to resign. So you see, they're like openly working with terrorists, with Nazis, and all for the sake of their geopolitical games. You know, let me show you another clip.
اليوم دولة عظمى تلعب دور هام جدا على مستوى العالم، ومع ذلك عندما تتحدث عن الشراكة فهي تتحدث عن مبدأ جديد، لا تتحدث عن الهيمنة. ما ينقصنا نحن كدول في مختلف دول العالم، ليس فقط في سوريا، ولكن خاصة الدول الأصغر تحتاج لهذه الشراكة وتحتاج لهذا الدور. والصين تقوم بهذا الدور، لأن الصين وقفت مع سوريا سياسيا من خلال دورها في مجلس الأمن وفي عدد من المحافل الدولية، بالإضافة للمواقف السياسية الواضحة البعيدة عن المجاملات. هذا الجانب السياسي هو أساسا متطور، ولكن من الطبيعي أن يكون هناك حوار أوسع في هذه الظروف التي يمر بها العالم. هناك الجانب الاقتصادي، جانب التنمية. بالنسبة لنا في سوريا يعنينا كثيرا، لأن سوريا الآن معرضة لحصار اقتصادي سيء وقاسي وخطير من الغرب يهدف لتجويع الشعب السوري.
Once again, I can only say that this guy's been watching my channel too much. No, I you know, this is simply the truth. This is the truth, and I've said these things many times to you guys because whether we're talking about Syria or Cuba or Venezuela, you know, the sanctions are going to hurt people very, very much. And we are at a very important point in history where the sanctioned countries have become the majority, and they've had enough, and now they're building their own world. Not out of, spite or out of, a desire to exclude the West. On the contrary, the West is welcome to join in if the United States will let the rest of Western Europe, and Australia. But the global South is, and always has been, the majority, and it's actually thanks to economic powerhouses like China, or if we're going to talk about the Middle East, a regional power like Iran, that has helped many people stand up and defend themselves, and like genuinely, just for the sake of them defending themselves against Israel, against the United States, against this aggression, against like in Yemen, against the United States and Saudi Arabia. These countries and Russia have been crucial. So Iran, China, Russia, they've been crucial in lifting up other countries that have been just trampled on by the West in 50 million ways. So there's nothing malicious about that, or malign, or devious. It's just good. Sometimes there are good things. That's it. And in the case of China, it's not just going to build infrastructure and help rebuild Syria, but as I mentioned before, the access to the Mediterranean Sea is going to be beneficial for everybody, right? It's not just like, again, the interpretation, the so-called analysis that they had on the Israeli channel, which I told you guys, but I'm going to repeat it again because it's so funny. They said that China have invited Assad because China is trying to court the global South, right? Like curry favor with them, as if China is not the global South itself already, But China, they said China is trying to court the global South and just like, check boxes. And so Syria just happened to be one of the boxes. Like, what is this garbage analysis from a child? Literally no brains and nothing. You would think the Israelis would know what's up, because I can tell you the government they know what's happening, and they're very displeased. And that's why Netanyahu went to the UN with a stupid red marker and said, "We are going to build a trade route here." Yeah, okay. I'd like to see you try. So in any case, this is going to be beneficial for the entire global South. The interview is very long, but I wanted to show you these points. There's a reason, by the way, just in case it wasn't clear, but there's a reason that Bashar al-Assad visited only three. So the only three Arab countries, or non-Arab countries that he visited were China, Russia, and Iran. There's a reason for that. That's because they play an important role in the global South and played an important role to help Syria. And he mentioned the UN Security Council, which I told you as well, where China tried to protect Syria using its veto power at the UN. So it's me personally, I don't think anyone should have a permanent seat and veto power in this form. Even if it's China, the UN made a mistake by allowing this to happen, where you have 5 countries that, their voice counts more than everybody else's. It undermines the entire purpose of the UN. Nevertheless, when it could, China helped Syria and defended it and used that mechanism, and as did Russia, by the way. In any case, there you go. Watch the full interview if you can, and look at the difference, right? Like if they would interview Assad on, I don't know, PBS or something, they would go to his house, to the palace, or the presidential palace, or somewhere in Damascus, and then say, is it true that you dropped a barrel full of chlorine on a kindergarten and then laughed while burning a puppy? They have no shame. And then they go home to Biden, who is like an actual war criminal, who you can go watch videos of him, not even in the 2000s, already in the 90s, he's dying just to bomb Iraqis, and when they interview him, they'll tuck their tail between their legs and they'll throw him softballs because he can barely even think at this point. Anyway.